So 6. Three and 2 absent. A recording of this, and there's no action taken in closed session. Recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. And Pledge of Allegiance will be, Mr. Armstrong, you do that.
Okay. All right, ready to begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
Okay. Larry Tansley is absent. Mr. Moore is here. I am here. Mr. Rensselaer is here. Jim Bender is absent, as is Ms. Gassiola. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Rensselaer, seconded by Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
3 ayes, 2 absent. Special education.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, Kate.
So I'm here tonight to talk about, briefly about our special education plan. Every year in special education, we have to write a special education plan, which is kind of equivalent to the district's Lcap plan for our special needs students. This is an example of this year's, just so you guys have an idea. It's a very extensive report. The state has now added in new requirements for the report. They've added this year the requirement for us to start merging our special education plans with our Lcap plans, because they want to be able to see that the special education students are receiving the same services that the general education students are receiving in the Lcap, and so they're not just kind of kept to the side. So I had to create a presentation for the county to show them how we can merge the special education plan with the Lcap. And that's what I have here. I decided to do my presentation as a PowerPoint. I presented it to the county, which went very well. So hopefully we can start in a second.
Good work.
Since I do my clicker, I will mess up that.
No, we're gonna land them on her own. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of go through. The first page is just the consultation information, who was on my presentation team, and then I would be the contact person for any questions pertaining to this plan. The 2020 indicators that we addressed in this plan are for English language, arts, and math participation in the FAFSA assessment, as well as English language, arts, and math achievement, our suspension rate, least restrictive environment in 2 different areas for students who have 80% or more of their time in general education, and also for students who are in general education for less than 40%. We had to do the same thing pertaining to our preschool special education students. Those are our 3 to 4-year-olds. And the next one was preschool outcomes, how the students are doing when they are ready to transition out of our preschool program. And post-school outcomes, which are for all of our graduating seniors. We follow up on them after they graduate of the following years to see whether they're continuing in education or whether they are employed. And then the last one is chronic absenteeism. They started out by asking me specific questions before I got into the goals. So the questions that they asked are on here. How do you ensure that students with disabilities have access to fully credentialed teachers? What I have for that is that SKUSD will pursue more credentialed teachers through advertising and recruiting. This will be done by attending job fairs, working with colleges and universities, mentoring interns for practicum hours. We do all these things and have been doing these things, and it has helped. We are getting more credentialed teachers. B, standards aligned instructional materials. This will be addressed through textbook adoptions with all lessons aligned to the standards and conducted with adoption committees, standard-based intervention programs, and required lesson planning with aligned standards. And C, appropriate school facilities that are maintained. All of our school sites and facilities are maintained regularly by our maintenance grounds departments. In addition, we make sure to assign classrooms that meet the needs of the students who will occupy it. For example, we take into consideration the distance to the restroom, the size of the restroom, sinks, things like that, because we do have lots of severe students that require changing and need tables. This is a continuation of their question. They wanted to know about our preschool learning foundations. The primary developmental domains are addressed through assigned curriculum, including physical education, into Y standards aligned program and related services. Into Y is a computer-based program that we have for our mod severe classrooms, and it is very well laid out for all different kinds of ability levels and to address all of our students' needs, and it is aligned with state standards. The areas that we cover are social and emotional development, language and literacy, English language development, mathematics, visual and performing arts, and physical development and health. The next area was English language development. All teachers are required to hold a CLAD certification if it is not built into their credentialing program. And SKUSD has designated ELD instructors who have been specifically trained to implement our ELD curriculum, which includes the following. And I just individualized the programs that they use at elementary, middle school, and high school. Student achievement, we have to address our improved academic outcomes. I did this through standards aligned curriculum, professional development for our staff, pursuing fully credentialed teachers, creating best person instruction through curriculum guides, lesson plans, and preparedness, mentor teachers for our new teachers, analyzing and utilizing data, and professional learning communities. Increased college and career readiness. I have that Rosamond High School is an early college campus, which offers college classes in conjunction with high school classes. We have a Success 101 class that's available for all students. Various career pathways offered for vocational studies. Specific for special education, we have transition planning inventory, which is called the TPI-2. This is an assessment that addresses basically every major aspect of their life. So that way we can find what areas of need they have and then create goals throughout their 4 years of high school to work on those areas. We also use a career cruising program, which is a computer-based program where they can do career exploration. And we also have a workability program in the district, which is a program that I oversee that we partnered with Tehachapi on a grant. And basically it pays our special education students to work in the community. So we place them in jobs and we get progress reports from the places of employment on the students, and it gives them work experience and a resume when they graduate high school. The next section was academic interventions and or supports for students with disabilities. I listed what we provide here, which includes System 44, Read 180, iRead, iExcel for English Language Arts, English Language Arts support class. We have iExcel math support class, after school programs. We briefly started the Reading and Math Academies after school and hope to continue next year. IEP accommodations and modifications, and we also have pull out and push in RSP supports. For parental and community stakeholder engagement, we have to encourage parents to become involved in school planning and decision making. through consistent communication, which includes Blackboard messages, email, phone, flyers, mailers, website and Facebook page, and the parent portal. For special education, I had parent nights last year, and this year I didn't because of COVID, but I want to start them up again next year. At the parent nights, we addressed different topics specific to special education, and it was open to all parents. We did provide daycare for their children so that wasn't something that would stop them from coming. And it really, really opened up communication with Spanish-speaking parents. We had the majority of the people that came were Spanish-speaking, so it worked out really nicely. I had PowerPoints in both English and Spanish and an interpreter to help with any questions. LEA's parents, students, and families included in developing LEA and school site strategies. So how we include them in helping us create strategies through school site organizations, which includes school site council, PT, I've had PTO or PTA, district advisory council, Lcap committee meetings. Student engagement for absenteeism. I talked about our attention to attendance program that we're utilizing and the steps that go through that process, including parent and principal meetings. Dropouts, how do we encourage them to stay in school? We utilize academic counselors and at the high school, we have additional optional programs. So we have, like, for example, fifth-year senior programs for special education students. They can actually stay in school until they're 22 years old as long as they have an IEP. Most of them obviously don't want to do that, so we try to create a plan where they could at least get out with their fifth year. We also have a lot of other activities for seniors, independent study, summer school, credit recovery, different things like that, extended school year. For our graduation rates, we have the academic counselors that help them to set up a plan for their years in high school. They also have the college classes that they can take in conjunction, and a variety of programs, including the CTE pathways and activities to kind of help keep them motivated and enjoying school so they want to stay there. Activities particular to special education students, we have students participating in workability. We also are involved with WIA, which is a program for students who just graduated from high school, where we can help to put them in a job as well for a short period of time so that they can get work experience. We've had many students that we've placed in jobs that they've ended up being hired outright by the agencies that we placed them with, so they ended up with permanent jobs. We do transition field trips to different school sites as well as college. And we do CBIs, which is community-based instruction, where we take them out into the community so that they learn how to act as independent as possible. For example, they go shopping, some of their parents will give them a debit card with a certain amount of money on it so that they learn how to use a debit card and the PIN number and all that kind of stuff. So teaches them life skills. To create a positive school climate, how they want to know how we're going to do that to meet the cognitive, social, emotional, and physical needs of each student with disabilities. We incorporate MTSS, which is multi-tiered system of support, positive behavior intervention and support. We have Capturing Kids' Hearts, anti-bullying, anti-drug campaigns. We have extracurricular activities such as sports, robotics, music, things like that. And we also have mental health, psychological, and nursing services. So we offer all kinds of counseling, whether it's individual or group. And we're going to be starting up some more preventative programs for next year to try to catch kids before they get to a bigger crisis. For suspension and expulsion rates, in order to reduce our suspension and expulsion rates, Southern Current is doing the following: reviewing, this has been done now since I've finished the plans, but reviewed and revised our discipline matrix, and in implementing alternatives to suspension, which was based off of the Don't Suspend Me. We've had some excessive suspensions in the past years, and I attended a training based on Don't Suspend Me. and was very motivated by it. And then wonderful Mrs. Gaines purchased books for all of our administrators. So we did a book study on it, which then led to adjusting the discipline matrix and creating the alternatives to suspension. Surveys on school safety and connectedness. The district sends out California Healthy Kids, parent and school staff surveys annually, and Lcap surveys are also sent out annually. Course access. How does our LEA ensure that all students with disabilities receive instruction aligned with California state standards and with interventions, accommodations, and such? So we have SKUSD utilizes curriculum aligned with the California state standards. We have RSP and SDC students who use the same curriculum that all of the general education classes use. We have SDC moderate to severe students who also used standards aligned curriculum. It's through the N2I program, which offers them all kinds of lessons in varying modalities. All students have one-to-one devices with access to curriculum. All students have access to the same interventions as listed above. And all special education students have IEPs with developed accommodations for their specific needs. SDC and RSP classes have paraeducators that are in there to provide any additional one-to-one assistance or tutoring or whatever is needed for the child to be successful. These are areas that we addressed in our previous plan. So this is from the plan that I had, that we got the results from the previous year. ELA and math participation, the district implemented the following. We did training on the importance of state testing, administered practice tests to alleviate anxiety, and had some computer-based skills training for students to make sure they were familiar. And these strategies did not result, unfortunately, in an improved outcome for our students. And I found out why it didn't improve, and I will get to that when I get to this year's plan. So that was for participation. So basically, we didn't meet the 95% of our students taking the test. We had too many students that were opted out by parents. Okay, next section is for English language arts and math achievement. So did they do better? I did have goals for that. The district implemented the following. We had supplemental supports and interventions. We had English and math support classes, System 44, Read 180, iRead, iExcel, and accommodations. These strategies did result in improved outcomes. Our special education students in English language arts increased by 6.3 points, which raised us from red to orange. Our math increased by 7.5, I believe, if I'm seeing it correctly, points, which also raised us from red to orange level. So they did better overall in their testing. For least restrictive environment for 80% or more, the district implemented the following. The Ascend Academy program was relocated from an alternative campus to the regular comprehensive campus. The district expanded the inclusion program. District continued training and implemented the Capturing Kids' Hearts program. And these plans resulted in improved outcomes, which included growth of 2.03%. I should probably bring out my thing, because I have it here. Let's see here. Where am I going to put these on? No. So then least restrictive environment for less than 40%, we implemented basically the same strategies. We increased our mainstreaming. That was one that was different. We increased our mainstreaming in elementary school and added additional training for staff, and that also showed growth, and we received improved outcomes with that as well. Current actions, so these are our current actions. We're continuing to work on English language arts and math participation. And I have the strategies there as well as how we are aligning it with our Lcap. So I put in there the Lcap goal it aligns with and the action that it aligns with. So our staff training, we're gonna have staff training on our expectations of state testing participation and our district board policies. We did have a couple of teachers who recommended to parents that they opt their children out of testing. And that's part of the reason why we did not meet our participation goal. So we do have board policy that states that they are to do that, or not to do that. So I will be holding training before next school year starts. I did one this year already, and I will do one next year to make sure that they all understand what the policy is and that they cannot opt students out of testing. It's a parent's decision only. For math and English language arts achievement, although we did make growth, we went from red to orange. We want to try to get from orange to yellow now. So we're going to continue implementing the same strategies since they worked before. We are also going to add in the academy, the after-school academies as well. For suspension rates, our discipline matrix was extremely outdated, but has been rewritten. And thank you all for approving that. It's wonderful. We are going to do training with our certificated staff on the discipline policies, along with our new matrix to make sure that they all understand how the matrix is going to work, because we have seen that as the administrators are starting to implement alternatives to suspension, some of the teachers aren't quite understanding, and they're feeling that the kids were sent to the office and then later the kids are back, that maybe nothing was done. But there were things done, it just wasn't a suspension. And I have the Lcap standards, as I said, aligned with each one. The LRE, 80% or more, district needs to expand upon inclusive practices in our elementary school. In our elementary school, they haven't been mainstreaming or doing inclusion as much as middle and high school because they don't have the delineated periods that middle school and high school has. However, they are working on their master schedules so that we can have more opportunity for our special ed students to mainstream into the general education population. You can go ahead and LRE less than 40% is, like I said, we made progress on this, but we want to continue to make progress because we haven't met our goal yet. So the district needs to increase inclusion opportunities for specific groups. One of those groups being the moderate to severe students. They haven't been mainstreaming as much as they used to in the last year. So we want to make sure that they have more opportunity to do so, and they could mainstream into things like art and drama. A lot of them are incredibly artistic. It's amazing. Next one is preschool, least restrictive environment. I noted on here that the district didn't enter the data regarding preschool inclusion in the student database correctly, so reporting was inaccurate. So our staff is going to be very trained on what they can do for preschool least restrictive environment. In the past, when we had general education preschool, our special education preschoolers would mainstream into there. Now that we don't have general education preschool, there's not an appropriate place for them necessarily to mainstream into. However, they wrote new guidelines on how we can count specific outside of school activities as having experience with gen ed population. So that's what the new training is going to be about, so that they understand what areas that they could consider percentages in. The preschool outcomes. This one is related to DRDPs. DRDPs is an assessment for preschoolers, like CASP is an assessment for the other kiddos. And our DRDPs, we had a couple of new people last year who hadn't gone through the state training and didn't rate the scales appropriately, which skewed our results in a negative way. The state has opened up that training now, so I've already been able to sign up our people in it, and I'm happy to say they've all taken it, and they are now all certified and trained for administration this year. Post-school outcomes. We have sent surveys in the past to parents and students on what they're doing after graduation, and in the past, we've gotten a lot back. This year, we did not get any back for last year. So that came up as a red flag, so we want to work on that. And what we're going to start doing now is we've already sent the surveys out for the kids that graduated at the end of last year. We're supposed to send them out close to the end of this year. We sent them out. We sent them a little earlier so that we can follow up with phone calls and maybe home visits if we need to. And things like that to make sure that we get the data that we have to have for that. Chronic absenteeism, the district showed improvement. We did move from red to orange in this category as well. But we want to continue to move forward. Unfortunately, I did note in here, because I think that it is a significant impact on us, that we no longer have the support of the sheriff's department or the county ADA in our SARB hearings, which makes it a little more difficult, but I believe continued implementation of the attention to attendance program will help us to grow, because it did help us last year to make some progress. And once again, it's aligned with our Lcap goals. And that is the end. So all of our special ed kiddos are making progress, I'm very proud to say.
Sounds like it.
Anybody have any questions?
Mr. Gutierrez, if you would indulge me 1 moment, I just want to share with the board that the California Department of Education must have realized that I had asked Cheryl to do her presentation this evening, because coincidentally, I received a letter from the CDE dated April 15th, and it's a very short a little paragraph, and it says, Dear Superintendent Gaines, this letter acknowledges the California Department of Education Special Education Division's receipt of Southern Kern Unified School District Special Education Plan, in parentheses, SEP. The CDE has reviewed the SEP, and the SEP is successfully submitted. And it goes on to ask if we have any questions. So Cheryl, to you and all the gals in your office, congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you. I love those letters.
Okay, temporary extracurricular grade point eligibility policy. Mr. Armstrong.
That's me. So, do I just stand here? Do I look weird?
No.
All right, cool.
No weirder than us, so don't worry about it.
But yeah, thanks for having me, and for everyone watching, thanks for watching. Hi, Mrs. Akinini, I know you're watching too. She watches every board meeting. I don't have like a PowerPoint, but I do have something to show you that I thought was interesting. This was in my box today. It was high school today, and it says, involvement in activity programs matters now more than ever, and you have some guy on the shoulders. And it looks pretty fun, but it's true. Activities definitely matter for these kids right now. We've been suffering at home. Well, they have. I've been coming to work. but they've been suffering at home, and everyone has their own unique situation. And these grading policies were definitely, and I'm not talking about just our no-F policy, but just the 2.0 standard across state was definitely created for the optimal environment. Our coaching staff reached out to me a few weeks ago and said, hey, some of our kids are not going to make it. Is there anything we can do? Can you talk to the superintendent or the board? And I did a bunch of research, talked to a bunch of athletic directors throughout LA County, Kern County, Mono County, and they've adopted Governor Newsom's AB 908, well, it's Assembly Bill AB 908. And it essentially allows student athletes to play with below average grades, okay? I know that would be totally frowned upon in any other environment. But a lot of school districts, in fact, every single one that I've spoke to has adopted this just for this school year. It does require an academic probation for every student. That obviously needs to take advantage of this program, and I have a policy, I have a contract that I got from another school district, put in our information there, it looks pretty good. I gave some copies of Sally if you'd like to look at it. But what it would do, it would require every athlete who has below the 2.0 or an F in our case, because we have the no F policy, it would require them to improve their grades and continue to participate in athletics this year. If we do agree that this is okay and we can move forward with it, it is after the third quarter report card came out, so it wouldn't really encourage kids to get bad grades, but I think it would encourage them to improve their grades because they kind of have to if they want to continue to participate. I went through a list. I had the coaches send me a list. I have about, that we know of, this is affecting about 9 athletes. I took their names out, but I have them if you need them. But it essentially says like what their reason that they're not eligible. And so like this student has an F in one of his electives. There's an F in math. And things like that. So it's affecting about 9 kids, but it's not just these 9s, it's also their teammates that it's affecting and the programs. You may not be aware, but participation in athletics this year is very low. We only have varsity program this year because kids are at home, it's not in their face all the time. So but the ones that do want to come out, they want to compete, they want to participate, and some of their friends just fell by the wayside here, unfortunately. But I am happy to report, I have looked into their grades. They have been coming up quite a bit, substantially, but right now under our current situation, they still can't play. So I would hope, I don't know if it needs to be voted on or how this works, but if we can just accept that assembly bill policy and just temporarily waive the 2.0 requirement that's in our athletic code and the no F policy just for the remainder of the year, it would give these kids an opportunity to finish their senior year, because a lot of them are seniors, finish pretty strong, and it would definitely improve their grades. It would only help their grades, to be honest. So that's pretty much all I have.
Now, the waiver would be for the current semester
Yes,
and the spring or the fall semester.
back to the old days.
Because, yeah, I understand that when I work on a computer, it's not the same as being in a classroom. So, yeah, I can understand at that point, but I definitely want to go back to our old standard as soon as possible.
Did you just say like we would only have this until?
It's just this school year.
I think we need to go beyond the school year because I've got some comments.
I'm thinking some of the kids that are still out,
Right.
because we have a lot of high school kids that are not back yet. We'd have to consider the ability to be a waiver for at least the fall sports. I mean, not fall, yeah, fall.
Well,
like football.
I'm not
soccer.
disagreeing with you, but the reason why I'm suggesting the others, because I've got other proposals that I would like to have and look at, and I'm just saying is, I want to see metrics. I want to see in things like, okay, how many are fall involved, grade point average? I want to see what kind of effect it's had on the district's grade point average, because that's one of the things that I heard this was being put in because of that it would raise, did it raise it? We don't have those metrics. And I think a good year would give us those metrics to compare.
Yeah,
Back.
but
We're not gonna, we can't get the metrics back from the previous, but it'll help us determine how effective that policy is, the current policy. And, again, it comes down to is that I wasn't here when the policy was put in and so forth. But was there any guidelines set to say, okay, what kind of research are we gonna do to see how effective this policy is? I don't think that ever happened.
Okay.
Okay, it's said enough.
Thank you.
Why-
So you're referring to our NOAA policy, right? Because the
Yes.
CIF 2.0 rules.
Yeah,
is
no,
out of our
talking
hands.
about the NOAA.
Do you know what Tehachapi's own rule is? Tehachapi Unified School District?
I haven't been able to get a hold of that athletic director recently.
It's 2.0 no F.
Okay.
Mojave has no sports this year because of COVID and all that.
Mhm.
Most of the districts around us are 2.0 no F. And I think only one of them, which is Antelope Valley Union High School District, did a waiver. But, when you have 1,300 kids, 14, I don't even know, it might be more than that, 3,000 kids they might have in the whole district.
Oh, more than that.
And I was gonna say, I don't even know. So you might,
High school.
I was gonna say, that's a high.
That's just one high school, yeah.
but they might lose 500-600 athletes. I mean, we're losing 9. Do you know where those
Well-
9 are from?
Like which sports?
Like which sports?
Oh, I have emails. Definitely though, yes, from the coaches.
Like, are they all from one sport?
No,
Is it affecting a whole team? Or is it like, oh, okay, we lost 2, but we still got 13?
it's spread out. It's like basketball, soccer,
Okay.
things like that. I to be honest though, like this year, I talk to these kids all the time. I'd be up here for one kid though. I mean,
Oh,
just for this
Mhm.
year. So I think you were speaking, correct me if I'm wrong, like more of a permanent change to the NOAF policy.
What I was looking at this point in time is that I want to see year of data, and then probably go back to the NOAF policy for another year, and then come back and look at it in its entirety. Because we have no data. We don't know what kind of effect this is having, other than it's preventing kids from. Is that our really intent? Is prevent kids from playing because they got 1 F and they got better than 2.0? I'm sorry, I just, we're supposed to be here for the kids.
Yeah, but we'll deal with that later. Right now, we're gonna deal with, looking over the waiver for the year. So the kids who, might be eligible will be able to play, and then we'll look some data, and I'll tell you right up front, I am for the NOAF policy,
And you know my feelings, I'm not.
and,
I am too.
just because when we implemented it, I really think it raised a lot of our kids' standards. And I was one of the kids that always did just enough to get by so I could play. So, but at home, if I got it out, forget about playing anything. I don't care if it was in
We had a
basketball.
family policy, no.
It was a family policy.
Right.
And I know in my household, as my kids were growing up, there was an OF policy. In fact, there was an OD policy.
Right.
Mhm.
You had a D, you were gonna go to practice, but you were not gonna do anything until that thing was up to a C.
I mean, we all know a 2.0 is what? Straight C's.
Right.
See,
So
Exactly.
you go to college, you get a 2.3, but you have a D, you're out because that's considered
I'm
felony.
not passing, yeah.
To me, an F means whether you're a cheerleader, you're in band, you're in anything, F means you're fouling, you're doing bad. That means you need to take those 3 to 4 hours you'd be on the ball field, practicing band, practicing cheer, anything you're doing. You need to spend those hours in the classroom, studying, getting help. I mean, some people, they might say because of COVID, but we all knew in the back of our minds that life would come back at us sometime, and it came quick. But we all knew sports would probably be back, so you could have tried to at least keep grades up, contact your teachers, get extra help, you know? That's what I think, but I don't know.
No, I understand. There's definitely a lot of,
But right now, if this is gonna be a temporary thing, maybe until December comes around, then you might have got me there. But if this is gonna be, hey, 5, 6, 10 years from now, we're at a we have no F policy, then yeah, no, I'm not for it.
you know,
But
if you guys want to bring me back to discuss that, we could talk about probation waivers for that, or however you want to proceed with that. Sounds like you guys, yes.
Actually, that is a really good idea. If the athletic committee could get together with you and kind of iron out a probationary period deal going on with, and then if you could do it as quick as possible so we could vote on this at the next meeting. That way we can get this out of the way.
Are we speaking about the temporary?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I looked, the next meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, is it May 5th?
Yeah.
So I was hoping we could take action today
We
because
cannot.
we're at like 20 games and our soccer season is gonna almost be over because everything's so compact.
Right, but we do not have it on the agenda as an action item.
Mhm.
We cannot vote on it if it is not an action item.
but
So,
if you and the athletic committee can get everything ironed out and in line, then we might be able to vote on it May 5th.
so that's,
I mean,
we gotta follow our protocols.
I know.
Yeah.
I guess I just don't know all the things that need to be voted on. I was looking at like the athletic code and yeah,
Yeah,
if I'm confused, if you had to vote on it or whatever.
anytime that we do any kind of change to any of our policies, they have to be voted on.
Okay,
Mhm.
And it has to be a 3-point or at least a 3 vote. So we need to make sure that, it'd be nice to have us all here. But
that's what we're hoping for.
it has to be on the agenda. We would have had to iron all this out prior to last Friday to be able to get it on the agenda.
No, I understand. I mean, okay. All right.
What we can do is, I can have Miss Sally contact the board members who are on the athletic committee and also yourself, and then we can set up a meeting so that we can iron this out and in time to get it on for the next board meeting.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I do have one more question.
Sure.
If a kid's fell in your media class, would you want them out playing baseball or with you getting help?
Depends.
Just your personal preference. Maybe if it was your kid, would you want your kid out on the ball field with an app, or would you want them home studying? You don't have to answer it today, you can think
I'm
about it.
totally gonna answer it.
Okay.
I mean, if they're doing well in all the other classes and for some reason, like, I had one student was like, I'm always late to your class because I have to get my kids, my siblings online because my mom goes to work, and it's like, I need you to try your best. I understand, but then you have the parent going, you're watching the kids all day. That's just kind of the environment we're in. So I guess it would depend on the situation, but I mean, from the things that I've seen, I would say this year, yeah, probably not in another year. If I knew that they were really just taking advantage and not coming, but. You guys have any other questions?
No.
All right, thanks so much,
Good,
guys.
thank you.
All right, see you later. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Okay, reports. No student report today. Do we have one?
No, we don't.
RTA is not here. And CSEA, they've been sending in.
No.
CBO, Mr. Irving.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So see. Auction for surplus items. That process will start next week. Information will go out before the end of this week to all employees and the board to, what items are being listed and if there's a minimum bid value to go forward. It'll run through next week, money due final bids in by the end of business on Monday. We'll open first thing Tuesday on the 4th. And it'll probably be myself and Cammy, assuming neither one. I know I'm not planning on bidding on anything, so either me and somebody else from my office will be opening the bids as, whoever, hasn't bid or, so we have unbiased, folks opening things and, just to, make sure everything's above board and everything. Final list will be going out with the, announcement that you guys already have a copy of, just so that you're aware that it's happening. There's, 2 vehicles on the consent agenda for tonight, so we wanted to make sure that, if those are gonna be listed or not, we wanted to make sure the list we send out has everything on it as, correct before we have to send out a list and then, add to or detract from. So, the buses have been scheduled for crushing in Bakersfield next week. So all of those will be going up next Wednesday, so that piece of that is done in order to fill our portion of the grant of, we got buses that run more efficient, we're getting rid of the ones that don't. And then we get the cap, which is, the end goal of that. We got a letter from the county early this week and last week, I don't remember, but certifying our second interim as positive. So continuing the trend of good news in terms of the district's overall fiscal health. And I believe that is it for me. Oh, I want to give a shout out to Chantel Byers down at the testing center for keeping things running down there and helping out as we, gear up with more things with athletics and stuff that, as the basketball season begins to start, there's requirements for testing to make sure that, with an indoor sport, while we're still in the orange tier, that we meet the California Department of Health guidelines and CIF guidelines in terms of PCR testing and all of that for COVID. So she's doing good work down there, and I appreciate all the time and effort she's put into making sure things are running smooth down there. That is it for me.
Thank you. Assistant Principal, or Assistant Superintendent Hargis.
Good evening. The curriculum adoptions are still going on at Roseville Elementary and West Park for social studies and science. TMS is going to be starting an additional social studies curriculum pilot, and that'll be National Geographic, and that'll start May 10th. Roseman High School is finishing up their current English pilot, and so we'll find out what their decision on that will be. Summer school interest surveys have gone out to both Roseman Elementary and West Park. So if parents have not filled those surveys out, please do so. And we just would like to get kind of a rough number of how many people might be interested. Currently, we're planning for summer school to be in person 5 days. We haven't set a time or anything other than that, but we are hoping that that will be possible. All current, as of the date of summer school, COVID safety measures will be in place. And currently looking at the surveys, there's considerable interest to be sending students, and just some of the comments, parents are very happy that, that we would be willing to have summer school, and, they realize that their students, are behind. So that certainly is a positive. And then next week, we are going to be having some additional Lcap stakeholder meetings with both Rta and Cse. Cse will be on Tuesday and Rta will be on Wednesday. Those will both be by Zoom. And so we have been looking at suggestions from the Lcap survey that was sent out to parents. Any other Lcap surveys or meetings that Dan has been holding. We've been looking at those suggestions and looking to see if we can't put some of those suggestions into the Lcap during our cabinet meeting. So we are looking forward to some suggestions from CSEA and Rta. So hopefully everyone will make a good effort to be a part of those meetings.
Thank you. Superintendent, Ms. Gaines.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. I want to welcome everyone this evening who is joining us. And I'm very happy to announce this evening that we will be holding a graduation this year at Roseman High School. Final details are certainly still in the works, but I do want to let the parents know that if you have a high school senior, we will be having graduation this year, not only at Roseman High School, but also Rare Earth will be holding a graduation, and Tropico Middle School will have a promotion on their campus for their promoting 8th grade students. So a little bit different from last year, and we're very excited for the apparent change. I also want to announce that tomorrow we will be holding our 3rd grading committee meeting. We have 32 teachers represented and various administrators on this committee doing work with Ken O'Connor from Canada, and he's very well known on his work in grading. Our goal in this committee work is to eventually come up with a grading policy that we can bring to the board for approval for both elementary and secondary, and possibly, and I say this very lightly, a standards-based report card at the elementary. This is something the teachers are talking about. I am going to let them make that final decision. I also want to say that in the very, very near future, I'm asking all of my parents out there to I will be writing an ELO, Extended Learning Opportunity Grant, that has to be presented to the board before June 1st, which basically outlines how we're going to address certain factors, especially the learning loss that many of our students suffered during COVID-19. So I will be sending out a survey very soon, and I would really, really appreciate if all of the parents would take a few minutes to answer this survey. Part of our learning loss, as Mrs. Hargis mentioned, will begin in summer school. We are currently planning 2 sessions of summer school, one in June and the second in July. So I would appreciate your input and your feedback on how best we can support your child during summer and also beginning in August when we return to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines. Board members, Mr. Rensselaer.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. I'm going to just piggyback on Mrs. Gaines' thing of surveys. The district doesn't know what your thoughts are if you ignore the emails, the surveys, and so forth. So I'm going to encourage each and every parent, each and every guardian, please send in the surveys so we have an idea of what's going on. Another thing, if you're not getting the surveys, please call the district so they can find out why you're not getting them. It might be an email issue. You may be given the wrong email, or one small letter may be off, but let's go ahead and get that. And you're gonna hear this from me from probably now until we do have one, back to school nights. I'm hoping that we will see some of these in the fall and encourage parents to please attend the back to school nights. I can tell you for sure, I will be at one of the sites. So, we will look at it that way. And for the folks who are watching us through videos, please continue to do so. Thank you for tuning in. And that's all I have.
Okay, so I want to thank the parents who are watching. Yeah, I think we need a lot of parent engagement. I like to see the parents involved with the students and teachers. For instance, I got done with the Lcap meeting and ran over to the Foster Freeze because they were having a senior night. I just wanted to see how many seniors and their parents were there, and grabbed a quick little drink and came back for the board meeting. And that's pretty much it. I hope all the students and teachers finish out the rest of the year smoothly.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And I want to thank Mr. Armstrong for bringing that policy forward. And we will work on things as we get a chance to. With that, Sally, do we have any comments from the public?
No, we don't.
I will dispense with the verbiage and move on to item 7, which is approved minutes of April 14th. And all consent items. Does anyone have any questions on them?
Here I do on B. It's probably a question for Robert. The truck 51 and 52 asset disposition, it said it should have been involved in the January of 2018. I'm just wondering why it wasn't.
That I am not entirely sure. During that year, I was not, see, I was a fiscal analyst at
Yeah.
the CBO at the time and transportation director at the time put together the list of items for the surplus disposition. There we go, that's the word. For that, so I'm not entirely sure why they weren't included, where they've been included with, the list of things that were disposed of, but going back and double checking minutes and everything, they weren't listed, so we wanted to make sure that they made it to a board agenda before we, try and sell them off as surplus and they, were never declared surplus.
Okay. Sounds good. So, with that, I'll make a motion to approve consent items A through D.
I'll second that.
Motion by Moore, seconded by Vincelette. All in favor?
Aye.
3 ayes, 2 absent. Temporary extracurricular grade point policy, Ms. Gaines?
Not a whole lot extra to add this evening, Mr. Gutierrez, other than I will be calling a meeting with the athletic committee and in preparation to bring this policy back at our next board meeting.
Thank you. D, which is COVID-19 compliant venue for in-person specific board meetings.
Yes, sir. This is just for discussion this evening only. I'd love to hear from the board. I am thinking that it would be nice if we could, of course, keeping in lines with the mask and the 3 feet of social distancing, begin to either welcome back with a limited seating capacity here in the boardroom, or hold our board meeting at one of our multi-purpose rooms beginning in May. And I just wanted to see how the board feels about that.
I personally would like to see the public back in our meetings. If we could switch over to like Roseman Elementary and use their facilities there. And I would still like to live stream it like we have been. I think a lot of people have been able to join our meetings without having to be here, which I think we should continue to do. So my opinion is I'd like to see it come back.
Me too.
All in agreement.
So with that, I would suggest,
Okay.
because we cannot vote on it, that we look into holding a regular meeting again, but with the COVID restrictions that we have to have.
And I think, one person for sure, Dan, I'll have to get some input from you on what are our capabilities. Are we able to, live stream from, Roseman Elementary or West Park, either one of those elementary schools? And so we'll look into that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then we have second reading, review of board policies, ARs and exhibits. Ms. Gaines.
Yes, sir. These are just for your second reading, not for approval this evening. The ones that you might have a question about, where there are options, Sally has very graciously typed out the options that are the ones that we are selecting, and were selected by the board policy committee. So just for your second review, they will return first board meeting in May for board approval.
I had a question like on BP, the 3515.3.
Yes.
You have two options there. Was there a decision on which one the committee preferred?
Actually, we have both. We have the security type of campus security, and they carry no firearms.
Right, but it says option 1 and option 2.
Option 1 is not a policeman, it's a security, and option 2 is no firearm. The other part of the option 2 would have been with firearm.
So it would be option 2, but that's with a security guard with no firearm.
Yes, and security guard is one of the choices in option 1.
Okay, yeah, but it's very confusing when it's laid out.
Okay,
Well, wasn't one of the options, wasn't on option 1, wasn't it saying security and school police or something like that?
yes,
But we call our security, so we chose security, and then it says firearms, do they carry firearms or no firearms? And we said no firearms because they don't.
So that would be option 2.
No.
Option one is security,
It's
because
no.
we're not having a police or sheriff's here. Option 2 is just no firearms.
so you have to make a choice in both.
Because option 1 was police
Oh,
or
okay.
security, and
So
option
it'd
2
be
is firearms
option 2
or no
is
firearms.
with firearm or without firearm.
Yes.
Without
Yes.
firearms.
Yes.
So in
That's just
option,
confusing the way it's
in
laid.
option 1,
Uh,
we had a choice of a security or a
Or police.
policeman.
So we have security, so.
Option 1 was the security.
Okay,
And in option 2, we have a choice of firearms or no firearms.
okay, so there's 2 choices there that you have to pick.
Actually, there's 4. if you
There's
count.
4.
Yes, and we're down to
But
2.
we're done. Okay.
Yes,
Now it makes more sense. But it's just the way it was written, it's like, okay, I know we have security and no
Yes.
firearms, but,
thank you.
okay. And I take it that the next one down that has the different options, those were other options available other than the ones that were picked here?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, yes.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
With that being said, the third review and reading approval of CSBA master recommendations for board policies, and that's an action item for all of the board policies that are in the box.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Vince Lett,
Second by Moore.
second by Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
3 ayes, 2 absent. Approve the following list of personnel items. And I had actually no real questions except for the 39-month rehire. Is that we are actually rehiring them? Correct?
No,
No?
that was a person that, worked for the ACES program that used up all of her leave. So because she's out of that leave, She's now on the 39-month rehire list, so in the
Okay,
next,
so she is gonna be,
yeah, yeah,
not
so,
terminated, but released on a 39-month rehire.
right, so then over the summer, when we, have postings for that position, she will get first,
Right.
rights.
Just the way it was written, it didn't say whether they're gonna be brought in or let go. Okay, with that, I will take a motion for the personnel as written.
So
Made by Vincent,
Second by Moore.
second by Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
3 ayes, 2 absent. And I will make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Vincent. All in favor?
Aye.
3 ayes
8:12.
at 8:12.